the ultimate prepper's guide for 2021. And you're going to get to hear it from some of the best in industry. This is very exciting. Let me first introduce the panel and our moderator so everyone knows who's on. For those of you that are just listening, but listening really intently, listen up. For those of you that are watching the screen, you're going to see the people on the screen as well. But let me introduce our moderator, Rob Chrisman. Many of you, I know I do, follow Rob's Chrisman daily news and commentary, and he'll be our moderator today. Thank you for being here today, Rob.
You bet.
We also have Joe Zeibert, Managing Director of Global Mortgage Solutions at Nomis. Joe, thanks for being here, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Also, Kurt Reisig, the Chairman of American Pacific Mortgage. Thanks for joining us today, Kurt. Can't wait to hear from you. We also have Christy Soukhamneut. Hope I said that right, Christy. Chief of Staff at Flagstar. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we have Devin Norales, Director of Capital Markets at Premier Lending. And of course, I am Alex Kutsishin, co-founder, CEO here at Sales Boomerang. Excited to put this together with this great group of people. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand it off to our moderator, Rob, and he'll get us kicked off with some insights on what's happened this year and a prediction for 2021. Rob, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Alex, and thank you for having us, and thank you for everybody tuning in right now. Talking about 2020, summarizing 2020, I would say it's just been kind of an average ho-hum year for mortgage lenders everywhere. Actually, I'm saying that somewhat in jest, or a lot in jest, because it has been an unusual year that frankly nobody could predict. The way things have turned out in terms of interest rate, in terms of housing values, in terms of mortgage volume, in terms of the political climate and the pandemic. I mean, it's all kind of rolled into one. And I've been receiving a few emails lately saying, 2020 just can't end soon enough. Let's get to 2021. But to summarize 2020, when you talk to owners of mortgage banks and people running credit unions and depository banks in terms of mortgage lending, I mean, it has been a record-setting year, and we keep setting records, breaking records month after month, quarter after quarter. So it has been just a fabulous year in terms of volume, in terms of margin. Companies are making more than ever, especially in certain products, and from an originator's perspective, because the originators, can't keep up with the volume themselves, and they're doing as many loans as they can, and they're working 7 days a week, and they're hopefully banking a lot of this great income that we are seeing, or they are seeing in 2020, putting that aside for a rainy day, as our companies out there who are earning these margins. Now, granted, in March and April, that was a tough go with the fall of non-QM and the fall of jumbo, and then we had the government servicing release premiums disintegrate, margin calls, and so forth. So there was a lot of volatility and a lot of confusion, a lot of concern back in March and April as the pandemic started to be felt everywhere around the world and in the United States. But we bounced back as an industry, and I think it's important to remember in 2020 that we earlier this year, much earlier, entered all of this in a position of strength, unlike what was going on in 2008, 2009, 2007, when we were the butt of the global financial crisis, or at least the financial crisis in the United States. This time around, we as an industry, we're the cat's meow. We're doing very, very well, and we have saved, millions and millions and millions of people around the United States a lot of money in their monthly mortgage payment, and we are helping them buy homes. And what a great place to be. We have the products and the programs, the pricing in order to help so many borrowers. And by all indications I've seen, pipelines are still full as we head into the fourth quarter here, or almost a month down into the fourth quarter, but into the winter months, which are traditionally a slow time for a lot of lenders. And this time around, it doesn't appear that that's going to happen. Pipelines are full. Closings for November and December look very good. And that means, things that are settling, loans that are settling out in December and January, even February, appear to be very good. So with the low interest rate that we're seeing, that's expected to continue. Pipelines are full. Margins continue to be very, very good. And there's still huge numbers of borrowers that can be helped by our industry. So, 2020 heading into 2021, I think from an industry perspective, if somebody was tuning into this call looking for some kind of dramatic prediction about our rates are going to skyrocket and this industry is going to come crashing down, they're going to be disappointed. I think many people in the industry are optimistic, cautiously optimistic about what we're seeing as we head into the winter months here. And it's all signs point to a good first quarter in 2021. So that's very, very good news. Have we lost Alex?
No, we're right here. So,
all right. So I wanted to, we're getting into the slides here a little bit in terms of takeaways, and I wanted to turn to Kurt, who's chairman of American Pacific. I wanted to hear, Kurt, what, if there were 2 or 3 things that, you were in an elevator or sitting in a bar chatting with somebody and they said, what's your company learned from this year? What are your key takeaways? How would you answer that?
That's that's a pretty loaded question, Rob. And and before I do that, I'm just going to take a moment to thank Alex and his team for putting these opportunities on for the industry. These guys do a great job of bringing value to the industry, just like they do a great job of bringing value to the companies that they serve. So I hope you don't mind the plug, Alex, but you guys do great work for our business. So thank you. So, just backing up and sharing people my style. I've always been a bit of a Chicken Little type person. So I'm always looking into the future and saying, what's the worst things that can happen, and then I prepare myself for that. And so expecting the unexpected. And so this year it was certainly a year that really reinforced how important that is in the business. Some of the things that we faced this year never would have dreamed of. As you described briefly, COVID launches, rates drop, Forbearance Act, CARES Act, margin calls, just the litany of things that took place in a really short period of time, should fundamentally change, how do we plan for the future, and what types of things do we need to have a contingency plan for in the event that they happen. COVID is just a great example, having to move all your people remotely within an extremely short period of time. And so, the things that we've had to do weren't even on a plan anywhere. So, as we head into the next year, we'll be probably a lot more, let's call it dramatic, with the possibilities that we can conceive of and how they might affect our industry. And so, and I think from there, I think the other thing I'd observe from this year is just the need to be able to catalyze change and shift really quickly. We've always been a fairly nimble company, I think. And, as you get bigger, maintaining that nimbleness becomes more challenging. But again, going back to our experience this year, having the ability to pivot and quickly and make adaptations, when the non-QM market melted down overnight, and then warehouse lenders were having concerns about bond loans, and you needed to make decisions, really quickly. And so being able to pivot as a company was something that again, I think was key to navigate, this year. And so that's my biggest takeaway this year. They're both kind of the same answer, which is, plan for more unexpected than you have ever expected before, and then be in a position where your organization can move quickly. I'd say in some areas, we did really, really well. Honestly, I would say there are some areas where now I look back and go, and I give myself an A in some areas. I give myself a C minus in others. Ultimately, our performance this year, gets me a good solid A minus or better. But I look at it as I look in behind the curtain. There's things that we could have done better, and we'll learn from that for next year.
Good answer, Kurt. In other words, keep your knees bent.
Yeah.
If you were coaching a football team, I wanted to ask Christy the same question with Flagstar. 2020, quite the year. Christy, what are your thoughts about takeaways?
I'd have to agree with Kurt that, first and foremost, one of the things that we had to realize is just how flexible we needed to be. I listened to a speaker and he said, hey, I'll give anybody $100,000 who could prove that they accurately predicted in 2019 what was going to happen in 2020. Obviously, he kept his $100,000. But one of the things that we realized in our desire to be nimble and to really adapt to the market and serve the needs of all of our customers, both from the borrower and our brokers and our non-delegated core folks, is that we needed to look at data that we weren't necessarily already tracking. And so as we thought about the future, we thought about having to be more flexible in what data we collect, where we store it, how we access it, and how we use it to make decisions. And that was a big takeaway in order to be prepared for, like Kurt said, the changes that are going to happen next year. It's unlikely we're going to return to a stable, quote, normal market. We're going to continue to need to be ready to adapt. And part of that is having the data at your fingertips in a way that you can visualize it to make informed decisions.
Very good. So having data obviously is critical. I wanted to quickly ask any of the other panelists if they'd like to weigh in on this topic before moving to the next, if they had some inputs in addition to what Kurt and Christy were talking about. If not, we'll move on to the next slide. I want to ask Devin, in terms of we've talked about 2020 and some of the key takeaways that we're seeing. So Devin, what, Premier on the scale of things, and I don't mean to insult Premier, but relatively small, compared to some of the huge companies that are out there. And I think a lot of people listening would like to hear what a smaller lender like Premier is doing. I think you're in Charlotte, in terms of, laying the groundwork for 2021. What's going to really catapult you guys and help you in the upcoming year, and at least for possibly the upcoming months. What are you guys doing now?
Absolutely. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, so I kind of want to piggyback on where you started with what 2020 has been, and it kind of ties into exactly what you're saying with being able to pivot and being able to be ready to change your style up in a heartbeat. My first day here at Premier was April 1st. So all of you, I'm sure, can understand that was a pretty scary day. Those were days where we were seeing, as a capital markets guy, when you're seeing 2-point swings and TBA prices and things of that nature, the 10-year hitting record lows. It was a bit nerve-wracking, but obviously things kind of calmed down and settled up. So for us, the biggest thing that I look at and we look at as a company is not necessarily what are we doing in this quarter or the next quarter, but what are we doing 2-3 quarters out, and what are we doing now to set up success for then. So as a company like us, where we're pretty small, we have this year we're going to do about $1 billion, and right now we're trying to make sure we're always having the best options for execution. So one thing we're doing is we're currently working on our Ginnie Mae ticket, so we can start delivering more, pulling our own MBS, delivering directly to Ginnie Mae. That's going to save us time and operational efficiency once we can start doing that. That's something I've done at some of the bigger shops that I was previously at. So getting that ticket in, which will provide us better execution, better excuse me, just better overall what should I say, operational efficiency. Another thing we're doing is also working with servicers and trying to partner with different servicers, whether it be on our conforming stuff or our government loans, just because we feel that, you know, when everything kind of hit the fan in April, a lot of servicers backed out of that market. So, you know, right now is a time where we want to be able to develop really strong relationships so that when market challenges like these do arise, we'll be able to, you know, have a partner and stick with someone that we feel that can, you know, we can benefit both ways. And, you know, lastly, one of the main things we're focused on right now is product development. You know, right now, no one's hurting for volume, but as the refi boom starts to dry up, we're going to need to offer more and more products to be more competitive with other lenders. You know, as a small guy like ourselves, we have to be very mindful of what we offer and, you know, what we can actually execute and deliver on. So right now is a good time to focus on what we can do, what product offerings we can bring on, because like right now we're focused very heavily on recruiting. And so while we're recruiting, we want to be able to say, hey guys, you know, there's stuff coming up, there's stuff coming down the pike, and it always just helps sales have more and more to offer. So I would say those are some of the main things that I feel will be a game changer for us in 2021.
You obviously have your plate full. I wanted to take what you just said and throw it back to Kurt or Christy in terms of flow of ideas about going forward. So you could say, you know, if you're a huge company, you might have somebody who leads the innovation team. But I was curious about how you are seeing ideas move through the company. Do you receive ideas, say about 2021, about software you might roll out or some kind of marketing idea? Do you receive that information from the lowest ranks? Do loan officers tell their branch managers, hey, we need to be doing this? Or Kurt, Christy, is it from the top down where Kurt, you hear something somewhere and you think we need to do that, and I'm gonna implement that throughout American Pacific? So I'd like to throw that back to you guys. How does information flow about ideas moving forward?
I'll jump in first, Christy, unless you want to.
Go ahead. I'll jump in right after you.
Okay. So, you know, I'd say, Rob, it comes both ways. You know, I've got a huge, I don't even know how many people I have now in my information services and technology department. It's grown so much. And a lot of the best ideas that are coming through the organization have to do with just the streamlining, automation. We've built some internal software here at the company that has revolutionized the way we get a lot of things done and the way we map out a lot of projects within the organization. We've had some incredibly talented you know, developers who have done some great work, and they work with our COO Keith Becker, and so there's in the technology world, there's some incredible things. I have some leaders in production that are doing really innovative things around lead generation and how because we believe that as time goes by and consumers' habits change about how they shop, that you know, companies are going to need to complement the distributive retail sales force like we have with channels that generate leads, ideally generating the leads for a distributive retail force. But again, consumer shopping differently, you're going to change that. So we've got a really robust mechanism for people to generate ideas and bring them into the executive conference room and pitch them the company. But more importantly, I'll say for us, is talking to our producers and branch managers on a daily basis. You know, for better, for worse, you know, I've had a long-standing practice of, you know, standing on a stage in front of 1,000 of our people and handling my cell phone number, and they call me. They you know, call me. They offer suggestions. There are some days when I wonder what I did to myself, but it's just a really creating an opportunity for truly dynamic exchange from all parts of the organization is really powerful, because some of the best ideas come from. We had just a couple of days ago, we changed an aspect of our process, our closing process, based on a suggestion that one of our top producers said, hey, do you guys think we need to do this anymore? Seems kind of redundant. It was a policy we adopted, right after the CARES Act came out, just to help us make sure that people still have their jobs. And we added a really important thing. And then, but we did a tweak to it, which just, has saved loan officers probably half an hour per file every time they close a loan. And so he floated that up, and we looked at it and said, oh, that makes sense. And so we pivoted and made that change. And so I think, we have a ton of people working for a company who are really smart and are dealing face-to-face with the consumer, face-to-face with the real estate agents. I think a lot of the best ideas come from the street, and that's
good.
That's what
good.
we do a lot of.
I think Kurt, one of the things you'll have to do in 2021 is turn American Pacific into a paperless office. Given all those loan files I see that you're underwriting behind you there on the. So we'll turn to a bunker somewhere in Michigan. And Christy, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, we've implemented two things that I think are game changing for us with how we're going to approach technology. One is we created an electronic water cooler, if you will, where everybody in the organization can put their ideas about how we can improve, and everybody else can see those, and they can upvote them or downvote them, make comments about how you could improve the original suggestion. And we have somebody monitoring that then pulls it out and says, hey, this is how we can implement that. This is how we can actually put that into production, and here's how quickly we can do it. And we're able to communicate back to folks so they can actively see that their suggestions are being taken into an account. And it really has created a camaraderie as you think about not only getting great ideas out and getting them implemented, but creating that culture now that we're all virtual. So it has this multitude of impacts for us. The second thing that we've done is we started this last year, and so sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. But last year we started doing a mortgage fintech accelerator where we invite companies to come and apply and say, we have a new product, a new idea. We just need a little help getting it from idea into execution and actual implementation. And I think we had just over 30 folks apply, or it seemed like I looked at 30 proposals. And we narrowed that down to 10 or 12 that gave us pitches and presentations. And then we picked 3 that we're going to be working with to help them really migrate to the next stage. And one of the things that we were looking at was, are they true innovators? Are they solving a problem that needs to be solved? And are they doing it in an innovative way that can not only benefit Flagstar, but can benefit all the other companies in the mortgage space? One of the requirements is not that they sell it only to us or that they keep it private. We want them to get this great technology out into the public space. We had fantastic success with that last year. We dramatically increased the number of applicants this year, and really looking forward to what we're going to be able to bring to the table with that process in Q1.
Good answer. Talking about Q1 and so forth, and 2021, so many companies are having people right now forecast volume. And I've always been more of a proponent of margin than volume, because I think if you do one loan and make 2 points, that's better than doing 2 loans and making 1 point on each loan. But that aside, when you're looking at volume for 2021, I wanted to ask Alex, because Alex, you see a wide variety of sales boomerang clients out there and what they're doing. And obviously volume is key. How much did you do last month? How much did you do last quarter, and so forth. Is it possible to maintain the same volume heading into 2021, or is it impossible? And what are you seeing your clients do about that?
Rob, I love that question. And look, what's interesting? We wouldn't even put this on if we didn't hear from some of our clients that not only is it possible, but they're planning to do more volume in 2021. They understand that many people aren't going to be prepared for it. And so they're going to take advantage of that. And they're planning for it. There's a strategy around it. It's very important. So it is absolutely possible. You're going to get to hear from Kurt and Devin and Christy about how they're going to do it. But when we talk to our clients, when we talk to the organizations using Sales Boomerang, they're planning on it. Like that is part of their plan for success. That is part of they're going to keep their production team, their producers in their camp and not looking elsewhere because they have a plan, because they have a strategy, because they know that if the refi business slows down, which is almost expected, right? And the purchase business is going to go up, they're planning for that now. And they're also looking inwards. They're looking at their customers. They're looking at their opportunities, and they're saying, how do we capitalize on what we have in front of us, knowing that the entire market's going to look very different than it did this year? And so a lot of things that you've heard already from the team is a lot of things that we're hearing from our existing clients, and they're not scared. That said, Rob, here's what's interesting. I have spoken to probably a dozen, maybe a little bit more than a dozen, names shall not be mentioned, who have literally said, we expect to cut our volume in half. Like that is their expectation. And when you expect that, that's what you will get. I've spoken to some people that literally have a cut list. They have a cut list. They know exactly what people they're going to let go. And that to me is you are basically, you're going to bring that into reality. You're going to manifest that kind of thinking if that's what you're thinking. And so this is why we wanted to put this on. This entire event is to answer this question. Is it possible? The answer is yes, if you plan and you have a strategy and you believe and you can get your team to rally behind your strategy and your plan. And technology goes a long way with that. Great partners go a long way with that. Great insights and collecting the right information from the right people goes a long way. Some of the things Kurt has said, some of the things Christy have said about opening ideas up to their team and using those ideas to build their business, but build the industry. Those are the people that look at this industry and go, not only is it possible, but it's what's expected. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if you're going to be calling on Kurt for this. One of my favorite things that I heard, not on this one, on the next one. No, never. No. We've heard enough of Kurt. I heard from his team and the way Kurt runs his organization. It's something everyone can look up to. I've heard from the team at American Pacific how excited they are about the plan and the strategy and the commitment that the entire company has made to continue this growth and no more going backwards. As a matter of fact, and Kurt, correct me if I'm wrong, you said this is our new normal. This volume is our new normal. Did I hear that correctly from your team, Kurt?
That's what we're preaching. That's what we're selling for sure. I mean, we're and there's a lot to do to accomplish that. There's a lot of things we got to execute on to accomplish that. And so, but yeah, I think it's possible.
Excellent.
Yeah, I wanted to expect the unexpected or the new normal and so forth. This as a quick moderator editorial here, I will say that we've got, if rates were to stay here, and I should say if mortgage-backed security prices were to stay here and treasury yields were to stay here, the margin, the spread there can easily compress, opening up, a whole new batch of borrowers. On top of that, with all the appreciation we're seeing out there, don't count out the cash out refis in 2021 for really helping volumes. And then I've heard from a few CEOs who are taking a new look at the reverse mortgage channel, saying a lot of people, Kurt and I aren't there yet, but a lot of people are over 62, and given the appreciation that so many areas of this nation are having, and the fact that, hey, you need someplace to live. The reverse mortgage channel might just blossom for a lot of companies that are out there. So all kinds of things can happen in 2021. Speaking of margins, and I do want to ask Devin about margins, but first I wanted to ask Joe, who hasn't contributed quite yet on this. Joe, what are you thinking in terms of margins, the margin play that you are seeing out there for 2021? Can companies keep it up? Are they going to be hurting? What are you seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be interesting going forward. So I think a lot of the things that we've hit on today are really going to define that people are going to be in a different position going forward. So we talked a lot about, large lenders versus small lenders, right? And we work closely with Devin as well as a lot of the larger lenders out there. And I don't think it's necessarily going to be a difference from a margin standpoint of big versus small or business case versus another. I really think it's that innovation versus non-innovation, right? And we've talked a lot about a company's ability to pivot when something changes. And I think if you were to go back, right, 10 years to the last financial crisis, that wasn't what the rhetoric was, right? We have to go through this. We're in fire drill mode. And everyone on this call, right, Christy and Devin and Kurt, have been very proactive about how do we adapt. But when I talk to people about margins in the future, half of the lenders out there aren't thinking in the same context that we are, right? So how can you adapt and how can you be flexible? So as we go into the future, right, volumes could maintain where they are. They could drop off dramatically. A lot of different things could happen. But to Alex's point and Kurt's point, you shouldn't be reactive, right? You shouldn't be following the market and saying, oh no, volumes are down, we're down, we have to compress margins to compete. So what we're seeing is customers being innovative, customers being proactive, and customers saying, okay, if volume maintains, how can we maintain margins? If volume goes down, we don't just want to cut margins and chase volume. How can we be smarter about what we go after? So what we see from a margin standpoint is customers getting better about segmenting their customers, segmenting their products, and segmenting their innovation. So if they have to say, hey, I can only do 500 applications, today or this month or this quarter, let me pick the best 500 with the highest margin. So what we've seen is less of a all prices up, all prices down, and more of a let me pick and choose my business strategy and let me be proactive because I'm innovative. So I think with that, you will see the differentiation between winners and losers really start to define themselves. Now when volume is high and everyone's doing great, we don't notice that. When volume goes lower, you'll see people that can capture margin and volume, and then you'll see people that just can't compete.
So real quick.
Go ahead,
Devin,
Alex.
go ahead. Devin, go. And then I have somebody asked an amazing question that is perfectly fit into this conversation. So Devin, jump in. But this question I have to ask. It's it's a really interesting question. So Devin, you go, and then I'll chime in.
Absolutely.
The question isn't like, why is Rob Chrisman still in this business? Is it, Alex?
No. We deleted that one. We deleted that one.
Okay. All right, good.
No. I wanted to piggyback off what Joe said. I think he kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of looking forward and the margin compressions and all that, just because 2019 was a rough year for everyone, and then coming off of 2019 going into 2020 where it's one of the best years that any mortgage company has ever seen. It kind of gives you an idea of how quickly this market can change, and you don't want to be chasing this is what other lenders are doing now. You want to be one of those guys saying, hey, we saw this coming 2-3 months ago, what did we do to prepare for this? And in terms of, I think on the last one, I wanted to make one note too. And if you're still trying to continue to keep up with the volume numbers from this year, I don't think that's impossible, but I think you have to do it in a strategic way. So where are you recruiting the right people? And just like Joe said, we use Nomis. I love the platform just because it's able to give you so much information and help us be very dynamic in our pricing strategy, whether it's, just like you said, do you want to pick off certain volume pockets in certain segments of the country or, certain loan amounts or whatever the case may be. Someone like myself who's capital markets all day, every day, I'm constantly looking at what's the best X, where are those little areas that we can get, whether it be spec pay ups, whether it just be cutting down on our delivery times, anything like that to improve that'll help us maintain those margins all the way throughout next year.
Interesting. So Alex, what's the $64,000 question you've got tucked away?
Yeah.
There?
So somebody anonymous has asked, and if I can show my camera, they asked, if volume continues into next year, how do you plan to solve for employee burnout? Is that even sustainable? What a great question. I cannot wait to hear about this.
Cookie bouquets.
All right, never mind. I didn't realize the answer was going to be so simple. Let's move on.
No,
I'll jump in on that a little bit, Alex. You for sure, you've had employee burnout. I mean, people are fried. I don't think we've ever worked them this hard. So we've been sending cookie bouquets and retention bonuses and all these things, but ultimately it's been a grind this year. We finally came to the conclusion that we needed to be maybe a little bit more, I'll call it dramatic, because we're entering into some offshoring type contracts, something we've never done before. I'm a old school, keep it here type person, but actually what drove me to that is there's only so many underwriters, drawers, funders in the industry, and all we've really been doing is stealing each other's stuff to get our work done. We've done a pretty good job of matriculating people up through the channel, but certainly this year, the organization, we haven't been able to move people quickly enough to satisfy the demand, which, the byproduct of that is just killing our people. And so, looking not just to solve the solution today, but to provide us a more elastic and flexible way for us to deal with these spikes in the volume like we've experienced, by taking certain jobs, again, not the key bread and butter jobs, but taking certain roles that are conducive to that we can take some of that burden off our people. And that's really the sole motivation, is to take some of that burden off that people and give us, we have as a normal policy within our company, we have an entire strategy around what we call flexible and elastic workforce. And we build in about a 25% flex factor into our workforce as a matter of practice. We always have, so we can shift our up or down by 25% in cost or in capacity instantly. The problem is my volume is up over 100%. So, my 25% didn't do much good for me this year. And so, like I said earlier, planning for the unexpected. I would never have expected in my life to be doing, the volume we're doing. And so something that I never would have expected me to do, such as offshoring, we're doing that. And there's a lot of other innovative ways that we communicated on a daily basis with our people, our senior management team. My CEO and I send frequent videos several times a week, thanking people for how hard they're working. I'll say just in general, being really prolific about gratitude.
Yes,
is probably the best thing that we've done, is just really prolific about gratitude.
I saw a note flash up from Joanne saying that house cleaning services to employees is a good idea. Lord knows I need. Christy, what are some concrete things that Flagstar is doing? I think Kurt covered some of the global aspects, but are there fun things? Are there things that people on the phone can listening in or watching can implement right away to think, I hadn't thought of house cleaning services, for example. What's Flagstar up to?
Right? I wrote that down. I'm like, all right, we need to implement the whole house cleaning service, because anybody ever seen that meme where they show the video and it shows what's behind you, and then everything in front of you is like piles and piles of laundry and kids dancing around? I mean, I think that's our reality today. And we've tried to do some concrete things around childcare and flexibility, and having managers communicate with individuals and say, what are your needs? How can we as an organization help you? We've done things around allowing people who are unable to take their vacation or don't want to, or maybe their spouse lost a job, to sell their vacation hours back to the company and get actual cash, because that's what helps them the most right now. We've helped people find daycare. We've also extended the work from home for some folks indefinitely. For other folks, we said, look, we're not even going to ask you to come back to the office until, the end of June of next year, so that folks can plan and make extra childcare arrangements, or if they want to be near a sick or elderly parent, they can do that. We're trying to understand that one size doesn't fit everyone, and that manager to employee communication is critical in creating individualized solutions. The other thing that we've done, which is not innovative, but it's necessary. You know, Kurt mentioned that we just seem to be playing a game of musical chairs with some of these positions and people moving from company to company. We've really dramatically increased our training program, bringing new folks into the industry in all roles and helping them to get acclimated faster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great,
I think
great thoughts.
just real quick to kind of tie those two things together. I think it's a really interesting point, right? So Kurt talking about flexing up and down, right? And then Christy talking about really investing more in your people. And let's think about that as an industry, right? If we have more people, we're caring about our people, and we're investing more in our people, and then volume halves 2 years from now. Obviously, the goal as an industry shouldn't be, right, get rid of half of those people and then rehire them in the next cycle. It really leads back to that innovation, right? How can you offshore some things, keep your people, invest in your people? But right, if Kurt's thing is, hey, I'm going to grow regardless of the industry, that fits perfectly with that, right? I have people, I'm going to grow, I'm going to invest in them. And I think that really is a shift in the industry from, you know what, I'm going to scale down when I don't need the people and hire them all when I need the people. I think we've all seen during this time, everyone needs the same employees. You can't just get rid of them and then get them back. And I think that in and of itself is going to be a fundamental shift in how we work together as a broader industry.
Yeah, certainly.
Well, Joe,
Oh, sorry, Christy, go ahead.
I was like, Joe, you bring up a great point. And when we think about investing in our people, it's not only their needs today, but their needs tomorrow. And when you talk to many originators, they have a concern that volume is going to drop in half. And what is that going to mean for them, their support and everything else? And so you can implement tools like Sales Boomerang, because that really helps you pull volume into the future. So if I have a borrower today who doesn't qualify for whatever reason, I can put them into the program and I can help make sure that we are increasing volume in the future. I can pull together lead gen strategies. You know, all of these things with some of our great partners, and we have to think multidimensional, not just one thing, but how do we do those things for the future as well? So
absolutely,
Rob, to you.
I think that's a great point. And the point to tie to it is, if everyone did it, more volume is not going to come out of thin air, right? Some people are going to win and do that well, and some people aren't, and the volume will be coming from those lenders that aren't doing those things effectively.
Yeah, if I could chime in again, I'll agree with Christy. You know, using something like Sales Boomerang for those of you who aren't, and Alex doesn't pay me to do this, but I think that a big part of why our volume has gone up, everybody's volume is up a lot, but our loan officers are retaining their clients far better than I think a lot of our peers, because between our CRM and the link with Sales Boomerang, they're just staying on top of their client base. And as we head into the next year, even if the rates go up and the overall refinance volumes go down, those alerts come in for purchase type movement, for all types of reasons that people are making moves that suggest that their prospective candidate, this is how this thing really works. It really does it attenuates your loan officer to be paying attention to their clients on a dynamic basis. And that's so hard for a lot of them to do, because they're always multitasking, but Sales Boomerang just like puts it right smack in their face. And so it's been a great tool. I will add, just to close that one, I did actually send all my operations staff some essential oils and a diffuser to create soothing smells in their home. It just arrived like a couple of days ago. So, I mean, we're pulling out every trick in the book, man, just to try to let people know we love them and diffuse the stress.
Well, Kurt, I don't quite know what to do with that tidbit, but so let's essential oils. Who thought on a mortgage call we would be talking about eucalyptus and sage?
And this is why people have to tune in, Rob. This is the reason. You never know what's going to happen.
That's right. Keep your knees bent. Devin mentioned technology earlier in the call, and I wanted to follow up with Alex on that in terms of, the vendors out there, the technology partners that lenders have. the pandemic has certainly accelerated so much technology in this industry, and you've got closers and funders and underwriters being able to be more productive. We talk about burnout, but inherently, because of the technology that they're using or they've developed or that has been implemented, a lot of these employees have been, doing more than they were a year ago or 2 years ago, certainly. Alex, what are you seeing, at Sales Boomerang? What's going on in the on the Zoom calls at Sales Boomerang? What kind of technology are you guys talking about?
Oh man, thank you. So look, first, let me just mention to Kurt, somebody agrees with you. Deborah Holt said she really likes your idea for essential oils. So Deborah, a little shout out to you. So what we're doing on and how technology partners, how we help our clients in the industry as a whole. I'll give a little story. So in earlier this year, when we saw rates dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping, and you're talking about 8 times in 1 year, which is the first time this has ever happened. What we did is we heard from our customers about. Is that your assistant, Rob?
That's not a raccoon. That Myrtle has jumped onto the bookshelf back there.
He's looking for a good book to read. It's okay. If you have pets, you can go ahead and comment. So look, we listened to our clients that were saying, "Hey, Sales Boomerang, these rates keep dropping. Our EPOs are continuing to go up. How do we prevent this?" And so as a good technology partner, you want to listen to the industry and your clients and really be there for them. And what we did, we pivoted as fast as possible and said, look, let's build a system that can help identify EPO and create an EPO prevention system so that before it happens, before you start taking, because an EPO is cash out of pocket, cash out of your producer's pocket, it's a mess. And so we quickly pivoted, put out a program as fast as possible to prevent those EPOs from happening, or at least alert and bring them to the top of the conversation as fast as possible. So that's one thing as Sales Boomerang that we've done, and that's important for all tech partners, is to listen. Don't just be closed-minded. Don't be like, look, we've been working on this. We can't stop working on this. We have a delivery date. Well, if this thing that you're working on isn't going to help your customer today, yes, we know it's going to help them tomorrow. But if it's not going to help them today and they begin to create leaks in their system because you're not listening, then you're going to have problems now. And so as a technology partner, you should consider yourself a partner, not a vendor, and make those changes. And so, I'll look, I can't help myself. First of all, Kurt, thank you for all the things you said and everyone that's chiming in on the chat about the success with Sales Boomerang. I will have to toot our own horns for just a minute here. The way that we look at what's about to happen is everyone this year, all of you on this call, have done the most enormous volume of your careers. What is going to happen with your database moving forward? That's an investment. Your database is either a depreciating asset or an appreciating asset. What we look at here at Sales Boomerang is return on database assets, return on database assets. So everyone you brought into your world this year, you want to capitalize on for the next 30 years, right? We don't look at our clients as a one-year contract. That's nonsense. That's just how business works, but we don't believe in that. Everyone is a lifer. Okay, everyone at Sales, because you get a lifetime worth of business from your database, because your database has all your customers that already trusted you once. So how am I tooting my own horn? Moving forward, there's going to be so much purchase and some of the refi opportunities that you will have to hunt for and hopefully kill, or you can farm it from your database using the automated systems that Sales Boomerang has created. So I'm just saying, if you want to keep that volume, you have to have this intelligence. I'm so glad Joe popped up on screen. No, seriously, our relationship with them has just added so much more intelligence and accuracy to our notifications about each particular borrower and what they may qualify for, that going into 2021, this is like a secret weapon. Like it really is. And so, that's what technology partners should do. Joe, I'll let you take over the rest here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I mean, I think you're spot on, right? And it's not just, hey, we have to have technology to be better, which we do, but I mean, we've seen in the past how it doesn't work out when lenders aren't prepared, right? You look at the end of 2018, rates ticked up a little bit, which seems crazy, but it wasn't that long ago. And I was actually at another lender and we were looking to buy people, and the list of people that were just on fire sale was through the roof. Every day someone new was on the market to buy super cheap and people were going out of business left and right. Rates only stayed high for like 2 or 3 months before going back down to record lows. Right. And it was amazing to see how people couldn't pivot from refi to purchase. And now obviously we're in this refi environment, but to Alex's point, right, people are going to have to hunt for the volume, but the volume's there. And when you know how to price it accurately, right, at Noma is helping all of our customers price things accurately, working with them, going after that volume. It gives you that ability to say, business has shifted, right? You know what? We were a refi 30-year fixed shop. Now we're a purchase 5-1 arm shop. Hey, 3-1 arms. No one's gotten those in years. Hey, we better jump into that because that's what the market wants, right? Being able to use your technology to price and pivot is so important going forward. And as a lender, a lot of times, right, you kind of have, you know, blinders on when you're doing so well and there's volume and there's money to be made. But again, we've seen like in 2018 where things change for a month or two and people can't adapt and people can't keep up with it. So with that, right, technology's just become so important, right? Working with Devin, working with all these other clients just to make sure that if something pivots, even if it only pivots for a month or two, you have the ability, right, to stay above water, to get over that, and to have a long-term growth strategy. And again, I think all the lenders on here have been phenomenal at pointing that out. But I do feel like that is the exception when I talk to a lot of other people out there. They're just not equipped and they don't want to spend the money on innovation and technology and making sure they don't lose out. And you'll see, right, the same thing will happen. Rates will go up a little bit. It'll be a purchase market for a month and people will close up because they don't know how to adapt. And it's so important to just be able to adapt and to be proactive instead of reactive.
So Joe, since you're talking about that subject, I wanted to ask you, how are you seeing, or how should companies view technology to prepare for what some are saying is inevitable, eventual downturn in the industry?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think it's really analyzing at a more granular level than people look at today. I mean, we have some of the largest lenders that we talk to and they'll say, hey, you know what, I'm doing 800 applications a day and I'm happy with that. And my question to them is, could you be doing the same 800 more profitably, right? Could you be doing 700 but making more money, right? Are you thinking through the right mechanics of these loans? Do they have the same pull through? Could you get better pull through, right? Could you price them more effectively? Could you stop fallout? There's so many things to think about, and really tying it back to, right, one of Christy's points early on about data, right? I mean, we have millions and millions of records a day flowing through the system, but data is just data until you analyze it and it tells you what to do. And right, if there is a downturn and I can type into a system and say, you know what, I need 300 applications today. How do I price, my million price points to get that? Or I need to make, 20 more basis points in margin. What do I do? Or 25 because I'm underwater. You can't just raise prices across the board, right? You're going to have fallout. You're going to have some really price sensitive areas where your volume just dries up. And then other areas where people don't even notice that 25 basis points. But having a system that can come in and analyze that for you and dig into it and tell you, hey, you know what? Not just 25, you could raise 75 on this product in this segment and you won't lose any volume. But if you raise 2 basis points there, you know what? It's all over. So being able to use technology to partner with people to get to that level of granularity where, right, an app's not an app. An app isn't just an app. A lender's not just a lender, right? There is a right price for every lender to get pull through, to win, to have that maximum impact on what is their price sensitivity and willingness to pay. And without the data and the analytics, you won't be able to succeed, right? When that downturn comes, again, will you be like Kurt and want to grow and maintain your volume? Or will you be like the ones that just have their volume and say, we're going to be reactive? And that's why it's so important to have that technology to help you get to that point, to be one of those people that really grows during the downturn.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Joe, because like what Kurt talks about, and we're about to get Kurt and Christy and everyone to comment on this because this is important, and keep it quick and right to the point of how you guys are going to use technology. But to your point, those of you that have prepared for having your volume, you're going to have your volume. So let's jump into it. Christy, real quick. How are you going to use technology to prepare for this? For you're not preparing for the downturn, but what are you going to do with technology to make sure that doesn't happen?
I was just going to say, who's having a downturn? We want to grow market. We want to grow market share, and to Kurt's point, maintain or increase our volume. This is kind of the new bar that we want to live in. So we're doing a couple things in terms of technology. One is we're really looking at revamping a lot of our systems. With what we've learned from the COVID experience is consumers are ready for some innovation and some change in the mortgage process. And what pieces can we implement in a way that is not only customer friendly, but employee friendly? Because it doesn't help if I make things easier for my customer if I make it 10 times harder for the team at the home office or the branch offices. So we're really trying to evaluate everything from a customer first experience with decreasing cycle times in a way that actually makes it more convenient for the customer and where we think that they're going to be in the future. We're also looking at integration. Mm-hmm. This is something that I think as an industry, we have a tendency to look at something and implement it tomorrow. And then we look at something else and we implement it tomorrow. And then we look at something else and we implement it right after that. And it's a little bit of the shiny squirrel syndrome that we have all these new toys and none of them get fully integrated and implemented in a way that works together. We can no longer take the easy path and just take that one thing that solves the one problem that looks really good today, not fully integrated and get it adopted. We have to look at kind of a series of technologies and how do we create the right tech stack and integrate them in a way that is unique to us or unique to our borrower experience or whatever we're trying to deliver and make it meaningful and impactful. So while we want to move quickly, we also want to move with purpose.
So Christy, you know what I call that? First of all, I love that answer. You know what I call that? I call that being a smart lender. Like a smart home, my thermostat talks to my phone, that talks to my, the doorbell, that talks to the TV, that talks to the everything. That's a smart home. What you're talking about is integrating everything so you can become a smart lender and you can do these efficient activities and everything is connected and everything is powering one centralized location so that I don't have to log into 18 different places. I can choose one and everything is there for me, which I think is brilliant. Integrations are amazing. Kurt, what's your thoughts on integrations? I know you're an expert at bringing things in for your team. What are your thoughts there?
I'll just go back to your original question and just go, for us, it's just,
sure.
It's not too cliche, but cheaper, better, faster. Cheaper, we have to cut costs. We have a 2-year initiative to cut 100 basis points out of our overall costs.
Wow.
That's from end to end and using a combination of technology and streamline processes to get out the wash. Better is about experience. And again, consumer wants a lot of things, but they don't want to compromise the experience. And so understanding the experience the consumer wants and doing everything you can to create it. Our whole position in the marketplace is about creating experiences that matter. So cheaper doesn't mean that we're cutting back on that. We're actually doubling down on that. And then faster, and a lot of that's just around mobile and everything going mobile. And then again, back to the plug I had earlier, leveraging technology. So how quickly can you get back to your consumer when they have a need? And tools like Sales Boomerang and other things allow us to be just Johnny on the spot. I forgot to turn on my video. Sorry, guys. So I'm waving my hands and nobody can see me.
You're all animated.
Cheaper, better, faster. Cut costs, a great experience, and give the consumer what they want. They can do what they need to do on the fly, and our technology is intuitive.
I love it. Kurt, awesome. Devin, let's grab you on here. So we just heard from Christy that said something very interesting about, hey, consumers are now saying, I can do things quickly because I have to, because COVID made it that way. You heard Kurt talk about quicker, faster, cheaper, and quality. Where do you stand on this, Devin?
So I'm kind of piggyback pretty much off what these guys are saying. For smaller lenders such as ourselves, technology can really add an exponential amount of value for ones, for instance, with Nomis. Since we've been using this platform, it's been able to allow us to kind of pick off where we can do better in terms of pricing and where we can actually worsen our pricing but still maintain the volume. It really gives us a dynamic strategy across the country so that we're not just pigeonholing ourselves into saying, hey, this is our flat rates that go out across the country when you can leave a lot of execution on the table. Another piece of technology for us is, no one's really struggling for leads right now. That's kind of been one of everyone's kind of got volume, too much volume per se. But one thing we've implemented here is we've actually tested out a couple fintech companies where lead generation is their primary focus. And we're trying to get that in the hands of our loan officers so that they're familiar with the technology. So when this refi boom does dry up, they're going to have more tools at their disposal so that they can continue to go out there and capture that volume. Yes, we know refis are what's booming right now, but we expect the purchase market to come back. And one of the technologies we're using is a web-based platform which allows borrowers to communicate directly with loan officers. And so that's something that we feel for the younger generations, for millennials, it could really help us continue to keep volume numbers where they're at.
Awesome. That of the presentation. For those of you that know what you're looking at, I'm assuming there's some giggles behind the muted microphones. Those of you that don't know, this is Bill Maher, and at the end of every episode, he talks about new rules. So, panelists, let's start with Christy. What are your new rules for 2021? What are the new rules that we are following? Like, what are you doing, or like, what is just the new rule that you are following as a company, yourself, in general? Hit us with your best Bill Maher.
There are no rules. Challenge everything and be innovative.
I love it. Look at that. Perfect. Look, knock out of the park in 5 seconds or less. I love it. Let's go to Kurt. Kurt, what are the new rules?
You know what? I like what Christy had to say, but for me, it's preserve my capital, diversify my business channels, aggregate or be aggregated.
Love it. Look at this. Look how strong the panel is. Devin, one more time. Let's hear from you. What are the new rules for you guys?
New rules for us is just being dynamic, being able to make that pivot on the dime. As I'm looking at the government 10-year today, we're reaching levels that we haven't seen in 3 to 4 months. So always being able to stay dynamic, I think that's the biggest thing.
I love it. Joe, new rules for you.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is be proactive, right? Going forward, don't react, don't change day to day, set your strategy and get the tools and the business plans in place so that you can execute on that strategy regardless of what's going on around you. So be proactive.
I love it. Fantastic. Sales Boomerang's new rules, how we're looking at this, very similar to what you've heard, but more focused on plan and strategy. Do not go into 2021 without a plan and strategy. That's how we're looking internally, and we always eat our own dog food, so we always share this outwardly. Plan, have a strategy, make sure your team buys into that plan and strategy. I love how Kurt keeps an open line. We heard some people in chat talk about that they're always open to their team. That is the best way to be. I know Christy operates the exact same way. You heard that they put together an opportunity for people to submit their ideas. And so the new rules for 2021 is have a plan, make sure it's clear, and make sure your team knows about it, because that's how they're going to stay on your boat as you move forward, and they're not going to jump because they're not sure what's going to happen. If you see any shakiness in volume and your team gets scared, that's because they did not hear your plan. They did not hear your strategy. They didn't hear how you're going to integrate, how you're going to innovate, and how you're going to help them grow and be successful, and how you're going to keep them in mind, making sure you're not cutting heads just because it's a new year. So that's the new rules for us. Everybody that stayed on longer, thank you so much. All the panelists, if you guys want to share your screens again or your cameras, we appreciate you so much. You guys were fantastic, the entire panel. Just brilliant conversation. If you guys noticed, Rob had to jump off. He had a situation he had to run to. But all of you, everyone, most of you stayed on past the 1 hour, and so we appreciate you. There's my information and Joe's information, and we really enjoyed having this conversation. So Christy, thank you so much. Kurt, thank you so much. Devin, thank you so much, and everyone that joined us.
Pleasure to talk to everybody. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.